Okay, guys, continuing Chapter 2, Module 1, Pilot Assessment. So how was that? Did you fill out those worksheets? Very interesting, eh? Really have to look at ourselves and assess ourselves and be honest. The more honest we are, the more clear-headed in our thinking about what our strengths and weaknesses are, the more we'll be able to improve on areas that need improvement and build on areas that already have a good foundation. So I wanted to stop at that last video and have you go ahead and do that process and really assess and think about the question that I was asking there, and then trying to summarize your strengths and weaknesses. In this next section here of Chapter 2, the journey, it says our journey, I came up with this idea of just a linear line graph, and above the line is the upside where things went well in your life, and then below the line is where things were hardships, catastrophes, problems, challenges, divorced parents, you got beat up at school, you got really embarrassed because a girl laughed at you in your earlier years. The timeline is open, so there can be a big spread. It's not exact incremental time chunks, and now we can look at the sample that I came up with based on my life as we look at that. But the idea is to break it down emotionally in the categories of emotions, how our mental situation is, intellectually, are we going ahead, and are we smart? Did we pay attention in school, or are we self-taught? Because school's not everything. I didn't like it. I've learned more in life than I did in school. So we broke it down in those three, and then we look at physical. How are we doing physically? Where's our moral status? Are we just making up our own morals? Do we have a sense of right and wrong, or how does that work in the real world? Where are we at? Of course, that's arbitrarily decided by you. You decide what's right and wrong in your own world based on your values, what you believe, what you were taught growing up, what you've sort of what's seeped into your spirit through the culture, and that can be good and not so good. Creatively, how's your creative strength? Where are you at with that? That was my biggest strength. And spiritually, that's a huge part of who we are, is the spiritual side. We're not just physical beings. In my opinion, we also have a spiritual side, a soul, mind, and spirit, if you will, based on some of the, when you think about that in terms of who we are, besides the physical stuff. So take some time, if you would, and look at your journey. What was your journey like growing up? And it's just a little exercise to really just make sure we are not forgetting things that happened that were on the plus and minus side, and how our lives have kind of bounced up and down between good stuff and not so good stuff. My parents divorced when we were like 12 or 13, not a good thing, and got into some other stuff, like a lot of kids, drugs and stuff, which is sort of a little detour into dumb land, where I just smoked too much pot and got just, I don't know, it's kind of a waste of time, really. I'm not into that now, of course, at all, because I just didn't think it served me well. I guess you can get some benefits from CBDs now, I suppose. But anyway, for me, that was something that I wish I kind of hadn't really embarked upon and got into sports instead. But that was part of my story. So Chapter 2 continued our journey. So you can look at that, and then just very small, jot down, print it out. Whenever there's a white paper or page or a worksheet, you print it out, and with a pencil, just jot down what you can. If you go 3 pages in, you'll see worksheet number 3, I think, or 5. If I get my cheaters in here, 5, worksheet number 5. Grab that thing, print it out, and as I talk about here, this is just to sort of evaluate where we have come from, what our journey has been like. So when you look at mine, you can zoom in. You can look at it, and on the online you can zoom it in. Talk about my brothers coming in, stealing my mom and dad. I had some good times with the family. This is in the emotional category. Mom and dad got divorced, so that pulled me down below the line. I had a girlfriend. I got my first kiss. I think I was 18. Almost got arrested too. I could tell you about that later if you want, but I didn't. But yeah, the folly of youth, I got to say, is pretty remarkable. It's amazing we make it out alive, so to speak. Then I moved out of my mom's house, and I got a full-time job as a dental tech. Then I got married and we had kids, which was awesome. But then my kidneys failed. Again, this is on the emotionally line. We're looking at my sample worksheet that I did for myself, and then I got up there to where I've been successful in business. So you move down to the mentality state. School was hard. Mom and dad were pretty smart. My dad's a physician. My mom was a singer, both college graduates. So I got some good DNA in there. But I absolutely hated school. My personality just didn't jive with it. So I struggled mentally. Was not a happy camper. I got some counseling, which I recommend for everybody. You know, there's sources and resources out there that can help us get through stuff. You know, we got to be able to humble ourselves and ask for help. It's really important. Again, looking at this graph mentally, but I was still angry. Had some issues there, and I got more counseling. And I studied a lot with my own journeys, workshops, books, success, topics, motivation topics. Started some counseling. Continued learning, still struggled mentally. Again, the timeline is, years, and there's compression of time on these linear line graphs and stuff. But the idea is, how was our journey? And you'll see the zigzag aspects of it. Relationship challenges. On the positive side, I became a Christian and had some successful businesses. My kidneys failed, and what's interesting is on the mental side, I've got that on the positive side of the graph line. So there was a blessing in that, and I could explain that to you in more detail at some time in the future. But was able to get a kidney transplant, and that was again, this is all random. You decide for your own journey how your graph's going to look. There's a reason we're doing this. There's a purpose in it. And so we want to break everything down into different chunks. And so we can really take a look at what our journey has been like. And so we go through that process. You can evaluate that. And then there's summation page, pilot assessment worksheet summary. And I guess I didn't spell that right. I'll have to fix that. So there's that going on. And you work through the pilot assessment, and then you sort of summarize a little bit of what you've learned. Okay, very good stuff. Get that little mini poster printed out. Print that little guy out and put it around. What am I trying to do? We're a collection of strengths and weaknesses. We want to continue to grow and improve emotionally, intellectually, physically, morally, creatively, and spiritually each day. This means we'll be a much better pilot to be able to fly our plane, that is. Okay, and so you print out the little worksheet there.